As you saw, there has been severe destruction to the museum and to the artifacts. And this has been a disaster like no other in the cultural heritage world, and especially to Iraq's national history. We did hold a pride and in our history. I mean, the history of Iraq goes back beyond any other. It goes back supposedly 12,000 years ago. When I first started doing this project or working on it, the idea came, well, first of all, I'm an Iraqi. I've been born and raised in Baghdad. And throughout my whole life, the museum or our history actually was part of me. I studied this history for years and years and years. I took pride in our history. It was a very dear part to me, to my family, to our heritage, to my people. When I go around Baghdad, when I used to be young, and just go around and look around, and it's like I would be proud of our accomplishments, of our civilizations. Unfortunately, there were several dark periods in Iraq's history that happened, and that destroyed many parts of our dear history. The first period, of course, was right after the invasion of Holako and his army, the Tatars, and they actually burned Baghdad to the ground. Some accounts says that there were 12 million people killed at that time. And they destroyed all the books and manuscripts from the Islamic Empire time, which was the height and the glory of the Iraqi Empire, or the Muslim Empire, which Baghdad was the center of it. Baghdad was built during Abu Ja'far al-Mansur's time, which he was the second caliph of the Abbasid time. And it was built in a circle, and it started to grow larger than anywhere else in the world. And it became a magnet for scientists from all over the world, architects. Everybody came from everywhere in the world. And as the empire grew at that time, Baghdad grew. So the demise of Baghdad on the hands of Holako was disaster of an unprecedented magnitude at that time. He didn't only destroy Baghdad, he destroyed the culture, the history, the nation. He did that on purpose just to erase the memory and to erase the accomplishment of the Islamic Empire at that time and the history of that region. Times went by. Of course, there was the Ottoman Empire that took control over Iraq for 600 years, and then came the British invasion and the British occupation of Iraq, and then the modern state of Iraq was established in 1921, and we had our first king. And at the time when the modern state established, it was established on those bases. Iraq went through a very, very, very dark history like no other place on earth went through. Of course, after the revolution in 1958, we had several other coups, and then came the coup of 1968 that brought Saddam and the Baathists to the power. The thing that the Baathists did, with all the criticism that they got, at the beginning, they were nationalists. See, my presentation today has to do with conflict resolution and nationalism. I chose this subject because I think it holds a great opportunity for us to work on peace building. I think we can do post-conflict work in Iraq, and we have this opportunity. It's a very big opportunity right now that we can work through conflict resolution. I mean, so many of my friends ask me, why conflict resolution? Why did you choose that program, or why did you choose that subject in particular? And to be frank with you, I didn't even know what conflict resolution is until I started the program. My interest lied in maybe diplomacy or working for the United Nations, but I didn't know how to go about doing that. And then when I started with the department, it opened my mind on what conflict resolution is, which I had no idea about it before. And then I came about to take a course in restorative justice. And through that, I thought, wow, this is really great. Restorative justice really has value. It does something like no other. I mean, when you think about restorative justice in black and white, it is usually victim and offender, and then, basically you're going to have a victim-offender meeting, and then you're going to work things out, but it's not that simple. It's extremely complicated. I mean, this is on an individual level. However, if we want to do it on national levels, the first experiments started with conflict resolution was in South Africa after the end of the apartheid. And it was in the 90s, and that was a great experience of restorative justice. Then when the war in the Balkans happened, they actually started that experience, but wasn't as successful as the apartheid in South Africa and what they did with South Africa. I'm not going to get into that because I'm digressing here. I just wanted to touch down on what restorative justice is. And so I chose that as a venue or avenue for my project, because I thought, hey, I can really do something here with this, it's like a phoenix, rising from the ashes. If I can bring people to understand that we can actually, after the destruction and after the blame and after the war and all that happened, then we can actually establish channels between the American people and the Iraqi people, and maybe people from all over the world, that we can establish those channels and we can establish a dialogue. And with this dialogue that we can build on, because this is going to be a continuous effort. As you heard from the previous presenters, there are more than 7,000 artifacts missing, but that's only from the Iraqi National Museum. There are 17 other regional museums they were looted, beside all the numerous archaeological sites around Iraq that will never recover these items. Why the focus on the National Museum? Because it housed the largest collection known to man in Mesopotamian art. That's why. And it was a disaster of magnitude that only could be compared to the destruction of Baghdad in Halakha time. I mean, war is war. We all know war is messy. And war, it has casualties. But this wasn't just any war. This wasn't just regular casualty. This wasn't just people who die or regular buildings that was destroyed. This was a history of a nation that goes back 12,000 years ago. It predates any other history. It has the first code of laws that was written by Hammurabi, and the needle. Luckily, some of the objects are in the British Museum, Berlin Museum, and the Louvre, and some of them here at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York.